Thank you, Apostle Moses. God, you have done justice to the subject matter today about influence. Influence, because one of the things that we are called to establish on earth as kingdom citizens is to influence our world. And oftentimes, a lot of us look at it from the perspective of just preaching the gospel. But this course is meant to help us understand that preaching the gospel is not going to be effective until we follow the approach that Jesus actually gave us. He gave us a strategy, which he told us exactly from Matthew chapter 5, from verse 13, 10 to verse 13, that we are the salt of the earth and we are the light of the world. So light doesn't force itself. Light just influences its environment. So it's very important for us to understand the place of our identity in the work of Christ. So it's my prayer that as we learn and study, wherever we find ourselves, which is the essence of this teaching, we'll be able to influence our spheres of influence. So yesterday we looked at the family domain, and we were able to get the understanding that God has given parents the authority in the family domain. That there are people in every space, God has given some people authority. When it comes to family, the parents have the rod. When it says spare the rod and spoil the child, the rod belongs to the parents, not to governments or to the pastors. Pastors are not given the rod to begin to train children. The pastors are giving their own authority in a certain direction, which we are going to be looking at as we continue with the study today. But I just wanted us to understand that the problems we have always faced when it comes to reaching out to our world is that everyone keeps leaving his responsibility for others to do. And it's not a pastor that would determine, for example, the decisions that will be made in the government house. It is the people that are there that will make the decision. It is God who will work through them. And it is easier if they are people of God, and it's easier for them to be able to receive instructions from God. So that's why it's very important for us to deal with this subject on the templates. So today I'd like us to go back to the book of Deuteronomy, and we want to look at some few instructions that God gave to Israel, which God expected them to establish their, their country with, which is something we are still going to be dwelling on later on as we continue next week. So yesterday we were in Deuteronomy chapter 24, and I want us to go back there. So we'll look at a few things that will help us. So please, I will also encourage us to please be open to read and turn to our Bibles together. The Deuteronomy chapter 24. And we're going to observe some of these instructions together. And I'd like us to look at verse 1.
Okay.
And let's see chapter 24, 24 verse 1. Yes, please.
When a man has taken a wife and married her, and it comes to pass that he finds no favor in his eyes, because he has found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorce and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house.
Okay, verse 2, sir. Continue to verse 4.
All right, thank you. And when she departed out of out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. It's three. And if the later husband later write her a bill of divorce and gave it to her hand and sent her out of his house, or if the later husband died without which took her to be his wife, verse 4. Her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife after that she is defiled, for that is abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to see, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance.
All right, thank you. Now, in looking at this law that God gave to Israel, you know, we understand later on that Jesus said it was because of the hardness of their hearts that Moses gave them the permission to actually divorce. But there's a principle we need to learn from here, and the principle is the principle of managing marriage and relationship. All right. Now there was a clause that the Lord by the Spirit told Moses to tell them that if someone is married and want to dissolve a marriage or a relationship, there should be a deal of divorcement, which we call um, 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 divorce certificate in our present day. And what is the essence of that? If you look closely at verse 4, he said, in case there is a reversal, then it says in verse 4, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. Why? He said, because she has been defiled by another man. He said, for that is an abomination before the Lord. And if you begin to follow this principle, what happens? Say, you shall cause the land not to dwell in sin. So God was concerned about relationship. God was concerned about how they separate. God was concerned about their marriages. And this is something that quite a number of people will not give attention to today. And when we want to run a society that is following God's instruction, we must be concerned about marriages. We must be concerned about relationship. So we don't just only talk about spirit, 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 spirit. Now, for there to be a bill of divorcement, that means there must be a body that will be responsible to sit and to discuss on the matter. So there must be an institution that will guide the people on marital issues. So, for example, what we call marriage registry today, all right, some of these things were actually what they learned from the scriptures. But you can't get a bill of divorcement from anyone who does not have authority over that institution. So they had a strong institution in regard of marriage. So it is very important for us to take note of that, talking about families, talking about relationship, and talking about and even how we deal with our children. We looked at this yesterday, and I'd like us to take a look at it again, which I believe some of us will also refresh our mind with. And this is something that we discussed yesterday. That's something about, I talked about it, I call it honeymoon issues. That's Deuteronomy chapter 21, I believe. Chapter 21. Deuteronomy chapter, okay, 22, verse 13.
Yes.
No, I
22,
think
13.
not 13. 22, 13.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
22, 13.
okay, you can help
He
us.
said, if any man take a wife and go into her and hate her, and give her occasion to speak against her and bring her up an evil name, evil her, and say, I took this woman, and when I come to her, I found her not a maid. So
Okay, no, I'm not sure is that.
there should be 21.
Yeah, I'm not sure is that. Is that I want us to look at
But
it
it should
in
be 21,
connection to
52.
21:15.
I think so.
Okay, I think we read
That one now, that's
21:15.
true. 21,
It should
50
be
talks about when you hit a word.
okay. I think it's 22.
Okay, let me see. 22, 6.
Hello, do we have more people in the class? I can't see the chat. Hello, how many persons do we have in class today?
Two, sir. Two students. Sir.
Okay, please take notes. Who are they? Take note, please, for attendance purpose,
Okay, sir.
so that I can call them to participate in the class. Since there's only one student I'm aware of now. So who's the other person?
Mr. Amalade is here. I just got him.
Okay, Sister Maladi is here.
Sir.
I'm here, sir.
Okay, Pastor Peter. Okay, all right, all right. Let's look at one. Let's look at chapter 22. Let's take, because there are so much about marriage here. All right, and I like us to read it, and from verse 13. Let's take 22 from verse 13. Sir.
What book, sir?
Deuteronomy.
Okay.
Chapter 22, verse 13.
Chapter 22, verse 13. Deuteronomy 22, verse 13. I read, suppose a man marries a woman and later he decided he does not want her. Verse 14. So he makes up false charges against her, accusing her of not being a virgin when they got married. Verse 15. If this happens, the woman's parents are to take the blood-stained wedding sheet that proved that she was a virgin, and they are not to show it in court to the town leaders. Verse 16, her father will say to them, I gave my daughter to this man in a marriage, and now he does not want her. Verse 17, and he has made first my daughter was a virgin. Local leaders to take the house to find him a 100 pieces harder because the man's on Israel. Moreover, she will continue, he can never divorce her as long as she lives. But if the charge is true and then they are to the father's house, where the men of her city shameful thing among our people by having intercourse before she was married, while she was still
Your line is breaking. Or is it from my end? It's like a
living
line
in
is
her
breaking.
father's house. Oh,
No, sir, our line is breaking.
oh,
No,
oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
breaking. It's breaking, sir. Your lines are breaking. We cannot really get you. What verse are you, man? Okay,
Oh God.
let me uh, continue from where you stopped. What verse are you?
1. In verse 20.
20. Okay. So, but if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the
Yes,
damsel,
21. I'm going to.
okay, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones, that she die, because she hath wrought fully in Israel to play hoe in her father's house. So shall thou put evil away from among you. So are we there? Are we together? So what's this law that God puts in motion? Is it a very good law in our days today? Was there a system of managing adultery?
No, sir.
Was there a system of managing fornication? Was there a system that God put in place? Can we discuss on this, please? Please feel free to speak up if you are in an environment um, that is clear. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
So I would like to hear from us. From this that we have read, from verse 13 to verse number 21. Was there a system that Israel were to follow concerning rejection? You know, when you read 24, it looks like you can divorce a woman anyhow, right? But there's a system that was put in place, and we can find it in this chapter that we just read.
What is the question, sir? What is the question?
The question is that is there any system? Is there any system that God put in place in relationship to how they manage their marriages, according to what we read from this chapter 22 from verse 13? Or what can you learn from this place? Let me put it open. What do you see from this chapter that we have read?
On my own, what I saw from this chapter is that God put a system in place to, reduce, would I say, to reduce or control fornication, adultery, and sickness. Because we're told that if a girl is seen generally married, that she's not a virgin, they will stone her to death. Even the family will be in for it. And if a man wants to lie, maybe have a carnal knowledge of the lady, he wants to do something that is not right, there's appropriate punishment for the man too, which I feel that then it was a good law. But now we are serving the God of mercy. If the law will put that law into place, now nobody can stand. Which thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Someone else wants to say something from where we have read from.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
To me, if I may get a question, where if there was a means of regulating or checkmating uh, probably fornication, then I don't know if I'm right. If
Yeah.
that's the question.
Yeah.
Okay. To me, in as much as there is a pronouncement about whoever that is found not a virgin should be punished, I believe there's a measure. Because even that pronouncement alone is a sign or is a thing that will put fear and that will regulate the activities of men. Is enough to tell people keep yourself safe, not to fornicate, not to defile yourself. Because at the end of the exercise, at the end of the whole thing, there is a punishment attached to it. The essence of punishment is not to just to punish people, but is to regulate the activities, is to regulate things that that actually that punishment was actually created for. So that's to me. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. All right. Thank you. Now, I want us to also find out who were the people that will be held liable if the children didn't do well according to God's standard now through Moses. Who were the people that will be held liable if your daughter is not a virgin?
The
Of
parents.
course, the parents.
The parents.
The parents.
The parents.
The parents.
The parents.
Okay. All right. Has that authority changed in our dispensation because Jesus has come? Has he given it to the pastors or the deacons?
No,
Because Jesus came with grace, or he has given it to
No.
the principal.
no, it
Or
has
some
not
people
changed,
do that.
sir. Has not changed.
It has not changed. Okay. Another thing, were there people who
No,
were in charge to
cannot change.
decide? Okay, were there people that were given the power to decide whether to decide the case in the society? Verse 18 tells us that.
The elder.
Yeah. So it means that Israel, they were not just living anyhow. Anybody was not just living by their own standard. So there was a standard that was at work. Now, I want us to see why some Christians that are even in a place of making decisions on moral values, they are failing. They are failing because they will tell you same-sex marriage, we are in the era of grace, and you don't have to condemn people. You don't use that. They come with different angles and all of that. But we must realize that there's a value. There is a system that God has put in place. And most times we say we don't need the Old Testament, but we must understand that there are principles that God has established right from the Old Testament even to the New that have not shifted ground. One of them is the area of sexual sins. So there was a system on ground where the elders will have to decide. So if they bring cases, the man comes and says, "This is my wife. I don't trust her. She was not a virgin." There was a token, and this token was very important to the parents. And that token was what determines the virginity of the woman. Now, what happened then at Israel, in the land of Israel, that if a woman wants to get married, they have a white cloth On the day of marriage, the man goes inside one of the rooms of the parents' house or whatever where they are conducting the marriage ceremony. The man goes and have a carnal knowledge of that woman. And as the man has carnal knowledge of the woman, then the blood splits on the blood, on the cloth. So it's that white cloth that the parent brings out that shows that she's a virgin, that will instigate the what they call the celebration. Now, when that cloth now serves as what we call a binding factor. It is after that they can pay the bride price. So you discover that fornication was not so much something the apostles emphasized, but in the Gentile nation, it was something they do normally. That's why in Acts chapter 15, when they had issues with the issue of law and grace, when they got to Acts chapter 15, after a lot of discussions, they came up with three basic instructions. Number one, that the Gentile church should avoid fornication. They should avoid the the, uh, the blood of animals. They should avoid bowing down to images. All right. And why was it like that to the Gentile church? Because fornication was not a big deal. But in Israel, it is government that will kill you because it was a system of government. It was not just a religious thing. So when you find Christians who do not uphold these principles of God, then we are introducing the message of grace in an improper way. It shows we lack understanding of the foundations of the scriptures and the foundation of our faith. So when you look at this, it tells you that God was so much interested in our relationship, because if our relationship is not healthy, we have a polluted society. And that is why, if you jump to chapter 24, okay, this is what we were looking for before, Apostle Moses, verse 5. Verse 5.
Okay, yeah, 15. It
Verse
was
5.
21 verse 15. I've gotten it, sir.
21:15.
Yes, sir.
Then 24 verse 5 also talked about it. Okay, go ahead, sir. Let's read 21:15.
He said, if a man marry two wives, and love one, but not other, but bear him son, but the firstborn is the son of his wife he does not love. When he will his property to his son, he must not give the right of the firstborn of the son to the wife he loves.
Apostle Moses, please
Yes,
hold on.
sir.
Hold on. Who has New Living Translation? Let's read verse 15 and 16 in a modern English. Someone has that, or do you have that?
I'm reading from NIV.
NIV. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have New Living Translation?
No, sir.
Who has that? I want us to look at something clear from this verse.
Deuteronomy 24:5.
Which number, sir?
No, 21, verse 15 and 16.
Okay, 24, 5.
21, verse 15 and 16.
Okay.
I read.
Okay,
Suppose a man has two wives.
I read.
And go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead, ma.
Okay. Suppose a man has two wives, but he loves one and not the other, and both have given him sons. And suppose the first son is the son of the wife he does not love. When the man divides his inheritance, he may not give the larger inheritance to his younger son, the son of the wife he loves, as if he were the first son.
Thank you. Now, he was talking about um, let me say this. How many of us have heard people do a lot of programs that say redemption of the firstborn or stuff like that? You know,
Yes.
now all
Yes,
of these things, all of these messages are thriving because we have broken the fundamental principles of this of the scripture. Now, why will a man give his inheritance to the secondborn? It could be because he loved the wife, or it could be because the secondborn was more loyal to him. But God was putting this law in place because He knows that it will create problems. That you must not subchange, because if you do that, it will create problems in the society. Now, there is something that I also find out from here that I want us to also look at closely. That it wasn't like God was against marrying two wives here, but it wasn't that God was also supporting marrying two wives. He said, suppose or if in situations where in their context at that time, all right, they could marry more than one wife, okay. But here he was talking about how you share your property, because how you share your property matters. It may not just be in the context of marriage, all right. It could be in the context of you are in a fellowship where you have to share things with people. Do you prefer people? Do you give consideration to people because of your special interest? That's what God was addressing here in the context of relationship. That give what belongs, like we say, give what belongs to Caesar, and give what belongs to God to God. So you don't subtract, you don't change the things that belongs to somebody because of your own personal interest and agenda. So in the area of relationship, God was so concerned about it and how we respond. So let's jump again to chapter 24, verse 5. I like our sister again to read in that translation she read from, verse 5. That to show how God is interested in our relationship, like we looked at it yesterday. Chapter 24, verse 5.
Okay, 24:5. Verse 5. A newly married man must not be drafted into the army or be given any other official responsibilities. He must be free to spend 1 year at home, bringing happiness to the wife he has married.
Okay. Now, in our modern day world, we call it honeymoon. All right. Now, the question we asked yesterday,
yes,
is
sir.
God interested? Is God interested in honeymoon? They will tell you it's a carnal message. God is not interested. If you can't just get married to a woman and you are starting 40 days fasting, for what? Who sent you? Huh? You see, many marriages are crashing because of misplaced priorities. You just got married, then you sign up for a contract that will take you out of your marriage for like 1 year. You just got married. These are fundamentals, and we cannot be wiser than God. Now, like we said, when Moses was leading Israel out of Egypt, they didn't have a constitution. So this was what formed their constitution. So they were not going to lead by the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit will not lead you on what to do in your marriage. They had a constitution that everybody must live by. They had a system of government, and this was their system of government. So quite a number of us that are Christians today, we're having issues because we have taken our eyes away from these fundamentals. And we are forgetting that God, who gave Moses this inspiration to introduce this law to Israel, is wiser than every one of us. So if you say that you are following the principles of God, you should have value. You should have value for the things that God has laid down. Jesus said, I've not come to destroy the law, I've come to fulfill it. So the aspect he fulfilled was the aspect of sacrificial worship, where you have to offer blood and all that. But there were principles that Moses established that is still relevant today. They are principles for living. So this is something that we also need to look at. Now let's look at the areas of health. I will send us the documents because I think we should just stay on some few things here so we can reminisce, because we have to go restudy the book of Deuteronomy again so that we'll look at some of the laws that God gave to Israel, the ones that are applicable directly to us. And let's look at chapter 23 of Deuteronomy. And I'd like us to read from verse 9. I want somebody to please follow our sister's reading and tell us this law, what area is it addressing in our earthly life? Chapter 23 from verse 9. I will take it to verse 14.
Okay. When you go to war against your enemies, be sure to stay away from anything that is impure. Any man who becomes ceremonially defiled because of a nocturnal emission must leave the camp and stay away all day. Toward evening, he must bathe himself, and at sunset, he may return to the camp. You must have a designated area outside the camp where you can go to relieve yourself. Each of you must have a spade as part of your equipment. Whenever you relieve yourself, dig a hole with the spade and cover the excrement. The camp must be holy, for the Lord your God moves around in your camp to protect you and to defeat your enemies. He must not see any shameful thing among you, or he will turn away from you.
Thank you. Can we discuss this? If I may ask, what are the things that God will see that will make him not look at you?
When one is defiled, when you defile yourself.
With what? Defilement.
Sir, is it this defilement here? Is it sexual sin?
Ma, what did you read? Did you say?
No, I read another version. I read another version, sir.
Okay, what did he say?
He said, if there is any among you, any man who is not clean by reason of what happens to him at night, then he shall go outside the camp. He shall not come within the camp.
If you are confused with that, I'm coming to that yet, but if you are confused with that, what about verse 23? Verse
I think
what about verse verse
11.
verse 11?
He said, and stay outside until the evening. Then he shall bathe himself. That means he has to wash. That means if he goes to, the toilet, I don't even know, maybe his poo, or like all those Muslims used to wash whenever they ease themselves. I think that is what he's trying to tell us here.
Yes, verse 30 says, you shall have a paddle or shovel among your weapons, and when you sit down outside to relieve yourself, you shall dig a hole with
Wash.
it and come back and cover up what has come out from you.
Mm.
Excreta, sir.
It says-
Yes.
The type of toilet they used to have in the village.
Yes, Talanga. But what is the principle? This principle to them, a spiritual God that can protect us from any form of sickness. Why will you tell them to make sure that they don't pull within the camp? Why? Can't you protect them?
Cleanliness is next to godliness.
God.
He can protect them, but I want them to have their personal hygiene. Personal hygiene is very important. Not that I cannot protect them, but they want them to have this personal hygiene to avoid some infection.
Okay.
To
No.
prevent some infection. Mm.
That's
That brings me my face. Yes, so. Yes, so.
Yes, it's true. I think it has to do with personal hygiene.
It's interesting.
Yes. No.
So a spiritual Christian should be ready to keep his environment neat.
Yes.
A child of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. As
All
you are
right.
clean inside, you are clean outside.
Yes.
Mhm.
We don't talk about spiritual cleanliness only.
Only,
God
yes.
was concerned about how they live in their environment.
Mm.
He is Jehovah Rapha, the God that heals. But you see the God who is hygiene. He's the God who gives them principles on how to live in health. Because many Christians today don't care about their health.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yes.
Just spiritualize things. There are signals, there are symptoms. It's not an absence of faith. You don't have faith more than God. But he said, watch how you pull. But if you pull where 100 people are camping, 10 people pull in a day, that place will be polluted.
Yeah.
So it's not demons that will kill the people, it's sickness. Natural law will kill them. So if you like, you are casting out demons, sickness can never leave that body. Because God has designed us to have a system. So their health life was also introduced to them by God. Like I was saying some other time yesterday, that if a pastor is teaching on health, they will say this man has lost his calling. He's not a spiritual man. He does not know what he's doing. We are talking about heaven. He's talking about keeping your environment clean. It is ignorance. Because some of us, we do not understand the principles of the kingdom. So our life cannot even reflect the Bible that we teach. We are not healthy people. You go to a church environment, everywhere is littered. The church toilet is the worst place you can ever think of. People who goes there, they mess up the church toilet, they never take care of it. And they are speaking in tongues. What tongues are you speaking? Don't you know that your poo can create sickness for someone else?
Yeah.
It will. People fall sick. They go to camps. Sorry to say this. I had to stop my younger children from going to camp because the last time my daughter went, the mosquito that dealt with her, the malaria was so high that she had to combust. I have to advise myself. I have to advise myself. I cannot say because I want to go and receive the word of God, I'm going to endanger the children's life. I cannot. Because health is wealth. The last camp we just had a scripture union. I don't know how God did it. This is all to the glory of God. A young girl of about 13, 14. I was stepping out of the camp after the Bible study session because I didn't camp. Then I saw the girl was seated and a brother was there with her.
Be quiet now.
And she was finding it difficult to breathe. I said, what's happening? The camp commandants, they were out there, they were looking at her. They were praying. I said, what's happening? I'm not a medical personnel. Then I asked, what's happening? He said, that she cannot breathe well. I said, why? Then someone asked, is she asthmatic? Then the friend said, yes. I said, he's asthmatic. Hey, where is the inhaler? They said she does not have. Go and bring the drugs she has. We saw the drugs, it was asthmatic drugs. Oh, the camp commandant, where is the inhaler? They said somebody wanted to buy this and that and that and that. Luckily, there was a medical person that came. And I joined them. I said, let's go. We quickly took her to the clinic. They have to resuscitate that girl. Buy inhaler for her and put her in and all that. I was telling them, I said, brethren, if anything happens here, this camp will close. We are just preparing for Bible study. We're supposed to have a medical team on ground. You are gathering children of about 300 children from different homes with different medical history. We say, God, 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 God. By the time we have act foolishly, we destroy the purpose of the kingdom. Next year, nobody will come. So things like that, a lot of Christians in our dispensation, we see it as carnal things. It ought not to be. Christians should be sound to understand that God is interested in our hygiene. Oh, I don't want to use Weavon. Even that your hair that you want to plait, please don't let it be smelly. Please treat it. It is not spiritual for you to be smelling. It's not. It's not. So God that we are talking about, that we are serving, could take out time to tell them that even get a shovel, get a shovel, get a shovel. He said, when you want to poo, go somewhere and poo. Get it? Because God knows that we are human beings and we need to be hygienic in everything we do. And God told them that you have to keep your camp holy. The holiness here is not holiness of sexual abuse or whatever. His holiness is wholeness. Have a serene environment. We should be concerned about these things. Because it shows that our God is pragmatic. It shows that our God is practical. Like in Nigeria, we have many churches. All the roads are filled with potholes. We are the people that have the people that drives to the road and to destroy the road, but yet we are waiting for the government. All the tithes and offerings we are receiving, we are spending it on ourselves. But there are physical things we can do in our environment that will make people know that we can become an influence in our community. Some churches have started doing that recently, and you can see the reception people are having, making impact. Making sure we go to medical hospitals, for example, you see how littered government hospitals are. How can churches go and adopt some wards and ensure that they are taking care of those wards? People go to hospitals with one sickness, they live here with another one because the government do not know what it is to keep hygiene or clean environment. Then we who are Christians, we are the light of the world. It's not to go and be dropping Bibles in dirty hospital beds. All right. We don't care that people that are there, that they will die quickly because of the environment. These are things that God wants to raise Christians who we advocate for clean environment. But when people do that, we say, oh, this person has left the calling. It's part of the calling. So have clean environment. So we are laughing at all these things, but it's real. It's real. It's real. It's real. So, brethren, it is something I really want us to go back to. We are bachelor students. We are not diploma students that we have to show you everything. Go through. Let's take one more before we go on short break, and I'll take questions. Let's look at, we emphasize so many things that have to do with spiritual. So I'm not going there today. All right. We understand, but we are going to be looking at the physical laws that are applicable today that we have downplayed in our social life, and which I believe this course is meant to help us see. All right. Now let's jump to. We are still in that chapter. We are still in that chapter. Let's jump to verse 15. Verse 15.
15.
Yes.
If slaves should escape from their masters and take refuge with you, you must not hand them over to their masters.
16. Continue.
Let them live among you in any town they choose, and do not oppress them.
Just read down, man.
Okay. No Israelite, whether man or woman, may become a temple prostitute. When you are bringing an offering to fulfill a vow, you must not bring to the house of the Lord your God any offering from the earnings of a prostitute, whether a man or a woman. For both are detestable to the Lord your God.
Sister Faith, thank God you are in Italy and Torino. These things are very common there. I heard of a pastor who is a pastor of a church. He has girls that does prostitute on the streets.
Yes.
He's their CEO. So when they work to come and money, those same girls pay tax. They pay offering. If they don't pay, they're in trouble.
Yes.
So which salvation are you going to be preaching? Then you say if they don't pay their tithe, they'll go to hellfire. Now this is the word. God knew that these things will be there, for these were the practices of the nations that they were going to inherit their land, and this was the reason God was pulling them out and bringing Israel in. And God warned them. He gave them this guideline. So you don't take these things, offerings. He even said about male and female. That your translation says male and female, which here the King James said sodomites. So why do we not look at these things as instructions from God to us? Why? Verse 20, man. Verse 20.
Okay,
verse 20.
sir. Verse 20. Verse 20. You may charge interest to foreigners, but you may not charge interest to Israelites, so that the Lord your God may bless you in everything you do in the land you are about to enter and occupy.
So collecting money from Lapo is not sin. You want to do business with it. But the church do not borrow people money with interest. But once you are a member of the church, you are not supposed to take money with interest. There's a difference between the business and the fellowship. So when people mix up all these things, they say, oh, no matter anything, don't borrow. No, you are speaking in the context of the spiritual fellowship. But it says you can give. As an Israelite, you can have a firm that borrows people money. You have the license to do so. They come, they take money with interest. It's a business. Because they are strangers and they want to do business and you want to empower them, you can do that. So some of these things, God did it because he knew that they need to run a system that will increase their productivity as a people. And that is why it is very important that every Christian is schooled in any sphere of influence that they found themselves. Because if you do not know, you'll be giving people things free. And, and your business will wreck because you are in the business world and you are trying to use what they call church mind. There's difference between when you're in the business world and when you are doing donations or welfare. There are two different things. And that is why God, in his infinite mercy, was giving instructions to Moses because he was giving them this law. Because at this time, Moses was preparing to die. And God was telling Moses, tell them again those things you have mentioned before. And that was why Moses was now writing the book of Deuteronomy to them. It's called the second law. And this was what God said when it came to the point of judiciary. Today, we are all praying that the judiciary should do what is right. But hear what God said about judiciary. Chapter 1 of Deuteronomy from verse 9. So let's take this, then I will take some questions and we'll take a break. Chapter
Verse
1,
9.
verse 1, from verse 9, man.
Moses continued, at that time I told you, you are too great a burden for me to carry all by myself. The Lord your God has increased your population, making you as numerous as the stars. Verse 11, and may the Lord, the God of your ancestors, multiply you 1,000 times more and bless you as he promised.
Continue,
Should
man.
I continue, sir?
Mommy.
Yes, continue to verse 15.
Verse 12, verse 12.
Wait. Mommy.
Verse 12.
Yes,
But you are, yes, but you, okay, but you are such a heavy load to carry. How can I deal with all your problems and bickering? Choose some well-respected men from each tribe who are known for their wisdom and understanding, and I will appoint them as your leaders. Then you responded, your plan is a good one. So I took the wise and respected men you had selected from your tribes and appointed them to serve as judges and officials over you. Some were responsible for 1,000 people, some for 100, some for 50, and some for 10. Verse 16. At that time, I instructed the judges, you must hear the cases of your fellow Israelites and the foreigners living among you. Be perfectly fair in your decisions and impartial in your judgments. Hear the cases of those who are poor as well as those who are rich. Don't be afraid of anyone's anger, for the decision you make is God's decision. Bring me any cases that are too difficult for you, and I will handle them. At that time, I gave you instructions about everything you were to do. Should I stop here, sir?
What is that? Say verse 18.
I stopped at 18.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. So you can see that when God was giving leadership to people, he gave them instructions on how they should handle their judiciary. And one of them was that they should judge righteously. And that righteous judgment includes allowing the law of fair hearing, like we call it today in the judiciary, fair hearing. That when a brother and a stranger, your brother and a stranger is having issues and they come to you as a judiciary personnel, as a barrister or as a lawyer, the case may be, say you must allow both parties to air their opinion on the matter. Then it says when you are giving the judgment, They don't be partial. So some time ago, we asked these questions in our class that if peradventure I have a case with someone, all right, uh, Pastor Peter, are you still there? Is Pastor Peter there? Is he still there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think peradventure, if I have a case with someone, and let's say land matter, we do land matter here so well, all right, and you are the judge. You are the judge of the matter. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
When I get to high, and the accused and the person has brought me to court, and you are the chief judge. If you want to give judgment, what will you do? And you know me. You know me. What will you do, sir? Will you favor me, or you will just judge the matter the way it is? Based on I'm a pastor too, I would say if you show love
Yes.
to absolute of faith, what will you do? What will you do with your office in that matter?
Yes, sir.
What will you
To
do?
me, I stand there. I learn to sit on the fence.
How will you sit on the fence?
I learn to sit on the fence. I say it the way it is. I don't have personally. I don't have favor. I don't have favor for anybody. I say it. I say it the way it ought to be said. That is how I do my
Okay.
own,
Okay. So you
irrespective of the parties. I
involved.
I say the way it ought to be.
Okay. This is exactly what this place is helping us to see. Now, God forbid, I am guilty. You'll be ready to sentence me to prison, knowing that
Yes, I
we
do,
are
but because I'm
knowing
not
that.
the one that sentenced. I believe it's the law.
Okay, but you are the one that will pronounce it, that will make it work. If you pronounce it that I sentence Pastor Jude to 7 years in prison, you know, will you be comfortable doing
And
that? Honestly, honestly speaking, even though
yes,
you know that.
yes, I will, because from my own point of view, honestly, from my own point of view, I am not the person, though I am the one physically pronouncing it, but there is already a laid down law that I am standing on. There is already a foundation that is empowering me to do what I'm doing. To me, I'm not the one, but I'm the physical person making pronouncement on what has already been laid down. So to me, I don't have any need to look back. I have to say it the way it ought, the way it has been on the ground. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Pastor Peter, let's turn the tide. I'm the judge.
Okay.
You are the
Yes, sir.
accused. Would you expect me
Yes,
to
sir.
help you? Let's be honest. Would you expect me to use my office to tamper justice with mercy? Wouldn't you expect it from me?
Yes. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will. But when it turns straight, I have no reason to be against you. I accept it,
Okay. Thank you very much.
because I don't know. I will not have any reason to be against you, but I accept it because it's not about you. It's about the laid down law. But I will expect, honestly, I will expect you to use your office
Abi.
for my favor.
Yeah, that is it. That is it. Especially when you know that you know me and I know you. Understand? And all the evidences are there.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
all right, I have the right to say yes, it's guilty, but you are discharged, and nothing will happen, even though I know you are guilty. But
Yes,
you will
sir.
expect. Now, this is some of the things that
Yes.
have destroyed our influence in our society today. We compromise a lot um, because of the faith. Now, let me put it straight in another way. Sorry, I'm taking most of your time before the break. I know some of us we have questions. That's why I'm coming from
No,
this
no problem.
angle. Now, if peradventure, peradventure, um, there is a favor you want. I think we have asked this before that you have a job contract to give to someone, all right, and your
Yes,
church
yes,
member
sir.
does the same thing. It's not too perfect, but you know you can do it. And somebody who is a Muslim is like a foreigner now. He comes and also bids for the same contract, and you are the CEO of the company. You know that the profit in that business will help the people to at least to be able to push whatever they want to push for themselves. Naturally, who will you give that
Yes, sir.
contract? Naturally, who will you give that contract? Naturally.
Yes, naturally, I will give it to the other person, but not my member. But I think similar thing have happened, happened not quite long. But I didn't give it to, and there was no only, there was not even, I didn't even consider the fact that I should give it out. I have to give it out to, give it to the person, to my member, without even, thinking of any other option. But I know there were other people who could have done it better. But I just have to wait, without hesitation, give it straight to the person, knowing fully well that it will help the person, and it will also, in turn, that's how I'll put it now, in turn, be a leverage or help me in one side.
All right. So
Yes, sir.
these are some of the salient principles that many Christians are no longer conversant with. And
Yes,
these
sir.
are the things that helped Israel to build a very strong society. That when people come, they see the fear of God. All right. What has destroyed our system in Nigeria today is because when I'm in government, I want to bring my sister, my brother, my uncles, my auntie in that are not competent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Understand? And when we are having opportunities, we want to help people that are related to us, but we're not bringing people who are competent. And yet we are praying that we want a great nation. So these are principles that we are lower down in the name of giving what we call favor.
Yes, sir.
So, and when you stay on this line, imagine a member says, Pastor, get opportunity, help me with the member. How is he my pastor? They will make you feel, oh,
Mm.
you are wicked. They'll make you feel you are wicked because they'll say you are the one who preach encouragement, encouraging people. Now opportunity came and gave it to somebody else. So because of that, you want to help those who are not competent. And you know there is a better hand. So these are some of the things that has destroyed the fiber of our influence in society. That when Christians are in positions, they are not effective. They are not because they are not competent and they are not straight with what they do. And because I'm not talking about me now. If it happens to be your senior pastor that is asking you for favor and somebody else is asking you, you won't consider it.
Not
You
at
won't.
all.
You say, this is my spiritual father, so why would I deny him? But he
Yes,
may
sir.
not be the right person. If your spiritual father comes out today now, you want to be governor of Edo State, even though you know he's not competent, you will vote him. You will campaign for him. You will say
Yes.
he's a child of God. But there could be somebody who is not a Christian, who is good in administration that can do that job better, that will serve us
Better.
better. We will never
Yes.
ever. So Christians have also become part of the problems we have in our society because of simple things like this. I'll rest my case here. I've been told that given the time for the class has ended. I will stop here so that we'll take questions and contributions. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you.